Islam. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I don't even remember if I've actually done a podcast on this. So if this is going to be a repeat, my bad. But you can skip through if you think you've listened to this part already in one of my previous podcasts. You can skip through to the next because obviously I'm not going to deal with just one topic, but I will begin with that a particular topic because I'm not sure, as I said, if I've actually covered it or not. But yeah, I think you do remember, especially those of you who have been listening to me for quite some time. You do remember that I kept on uh, talking about the now in fact I don't remember exactly, but okay, let's just put it this way. At least on the social media platforms where I've been very active, I when the 27th Amendment was passed, I mentioned one thing, and that was, why do I have a feeling that there is a 28th Amendment already? And obviously, people are going to say, oh, yeah, obviously, there was a 28th Amendment that did not pass, you know, and that was, dissolved. So, that's why it's this new amendment is not the same. So, yeah, this is exactly what I'm trying to say, is that the 28th Amendment, the one that you people are thinking of, that was unable to be passed, that was tabled and then put sidelined, that was not the actual 28th Amendment. Immediately after that, this 28th Amendment that was now being brought back to the table, and that is obviously surely to be passed, is basically intended to devolve the powers that the 18th Amendment had created, which was the provincial dictatorships, where the chief ministers kept all the resources for themselves. So the 28th Amendment is intended to devolve these powers to the grassroots level, right? It aims to strengthen Article 140A basically by making it constitutionally mandatory for provinces to share their financial and administrative powers with mayors and local councils. So that's grassroots empowerment, and that's on the paper. That's the problem. The problem is that it's just on paper. You have, the supporters like the MQMP who argue that the 18th Amendment created a sort of a, it was, let's put it this way. In fact, forget MKM. In fact, let's not even deal with them. Let's put it this way. The 18th Amendment, which introduced Article 140A, which says that provinces should devolve power to local bodies, didn't provide a strict mechanism to force this. So they're arguing, the people who are trying to pass the 28th Amendment, they're arguing that they're going to strengthen this very article. And so they declare it to be a completion or phase two of the 18th Amendment. But actually, it's not. Because the 18th Amendment had successfully shifted power from the federal government to the provinces. But according to them, it failed to ensure that the provinces then shifted that same power down to local governments. And so they believe that this is exactly what they're going to do. But the truth is, they are not going to do that. The truth is, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to give a sort of a pretense of putting power down to grassroots level. But actually, the 28th Amendment is all about reinforcing dictatorship. As simple as that. And everybody knows. And that's why people are having a problem with it. Now, as I said, when they passed the 27th Amendment and they were making such a hullabaloo about it, I kept on saying that there is a 28th Amendment that nobody's talking about. And as I said, people thought that, oh no, they're talking about the old 28th Amendment that very blatantly did want centralization and dictatorship, but they've tabled that. And that this one is, no, this one is the same thing with a twist. So I think that's what people have failed to understand. So yes, this is actually not a good thing. This is once again a new reform or a new amendment that is a danger to your constitution. It's a danger to actual empowerment, because everybody would want that, yes, there should be enough empowerment and enough distribution of power so that there's no abuse of power or no abuse of authority. But actually, what they are trying to do is maintain complete power under one man. So it is basically, again, going against your constitution on democracy, which already they have violated, as we know. We already are in a dictatorship. Now, as it is, the fact that he has not officially gained control, but Asim Munir is still trying frantically, he's scrambling all over, trying to, make sure that he remains in position. He has been up to so many antics. For example, he went to the UAE to visit the prince and then got basically snapped at. Then he went with with one of our ministers to China and again got snapped at. And now basically UAE is pretty mad at Pakistan because they're like, oh yeah, you had a defense agreement with Saudi, so why don't you go there? And why are you coming here now? What do you want from us? In fact, you know what? Why don't you return all the money that you owe us? And Pakistan is now obliged to return all that money. And you know what? Here's another thing. If you think about how UAE has been acting, I would say that it's not like UAE also favored us a lot, because all that money that we owe them with interest, and that interest was at 6% per month, okay, which is the highest. It's the highest interest, by the way, rate that they have in the world that they're taking from us, right? Similarly, now China has kind of also said that, yeah, you know what, all that money that you owe us, yeah, it's time that you start paying back. So what has this man achieved apart from deliberately fingering Afghanistan to create a war situation, deliberately now wanting to incite another war with India just so that he can maintain his position, while he's already having a love affair with Maryam Nawaz, hoping that that too could help strengthen his position. But at the same time, he's using the government, the Sharif family, Zardari and his family, whoever in the government, he's using them to make more money while he scapegoats them. Now, again, here's another thing. The thing is that scapegoating is done on both parts. This is what I also feel that the analysts they fail to do this. Their problem is that these analysts, when they go after the army, and they keep on saying that, oh, remember, your government is actually, they're just puppets, and the real person running the show is in the army. The thing is that I think they fail to remember the fact that the person in the army who seemingly allegedly is running the show was brought in by these alleged puppets, and he was vetted carefully. And then he was made to sign a few oaths, a few documents. He was made to sign off his faith. He was made to acknowledge who his real masters are. He was made to basically to just follow certain orders, certain rules and regulations, and to withdraw from certain other rules and regulations pertaining to the sovereignty of the country, for example. So he is vetted and carefully put into that place after a lot of effort and a lot of documentation and a lot of investigations and background checks and everything. Nobody just becomes an army chief of a former colony like Pakistan, where the UK, through the delegation of the US, is maintaining control. So, yeah, people seem to forget that. So if the army is scapegoating the puppet government, remember, the puppet government stands higher than the army in the hierarchy of treason, or fifth columns, or fifth columnists, or mercenaries, or whatever you like to call them. Okay? And that's how the show is run. The show is not run simply by the army or simply by the government. It is a whole chain of command that is being followed. And yes, it is true that Asim Munir, in his overambition, is trying to bypass that hierarchy. And that is why he was struck down very unceremoniously, to the point where he still could not get his official designated post that he was supposed to have got after his second retirement. So here we are. Where do we stand now? Where we stand now is that, true to prediction, the government now is looking for every single way to loot and plunder, to take as much money as they can from the people of Pakistan in the name of taxes, in the name of miscellaneous taxes, in the name of the IMF crisis, in the name of anything and everything that they can put to paper. And basically, where's all that money going? The money is again going back into their pockets. So they sell PIA for a loss, a whopping loss, and then they buy 2 airplanes for double the price each. And then they sell PIA's assets too, but they do not sell the debt. The debt is still on us, the people, to pay. So that's one way they're going to get money out of us. Then they're getting money out of us in the way that they have refused to now, they've refused the buying and selling of solar energy. So basically, those of us who have spent lakhs and lakhs, hundreds and thousands of rupees in investments on having solar power to generate electricity, which the government used to buy from us, now the government not only wants that for free, but it's forcing us to buy their electricity for, again, 10 times more the actual price. So that is also, again, something that I predicted 6 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago, when it was still Imran Khan's tenure and everybody was so over enthusiastic and so exuberant and so excited, I had predicted this. And then now we come on to Imran Khan not only losing an eye's vision, but now his wife also is losing an eye's vision. So what is the country doing about it? Jack shit. Which reinforces my belief that Imran Khan made a big mistake sacrificing himself for a country that does not know or want or care to be free. Okay? He just wasted 25 years of his life for nothing. He should have had a little more wisdom in him, and he should have spat at this country and left. Okay? Because anybody in their right senses would have done that. And I am 100% going to stand by my words, no matter what happens. Because I figured it out 25 years ago that this country was not worth fighting for. This was not worth doing anything for. This was not worth investing in. Why? Because this country is still enslaved. Okay? The British hijacked this country the day it was founded. They made sure to hijack this country the very day it was founded. They founded the army that claims to be the Army of Pakistan, but the Army of Pakistan never was the Army of Pakistan. They're the ones who created the police departments, which again are not the police of Pakistan. Their masters are still the British. These 2 organizations that are crucial security organizations of any country that help maintain the sovereignty of any country, these 2 organizations are British legacies. And they have never once withdrawn from that. Till date, their masters are the Zionists. And as you can see the hand of Zionist everywhere in this country. The minute you talk about anything, you're kidnapped. It's exactly the protocol that is being followed by the Israelis, right? It is the same kind of protocol that the Americans and the Israelis have been following all over the world, where they commit genocide, where they kidnap and kill. The president of Venezuela gets kidnapped and the world is quiet. Iran is being attacked and the world is quiet. Oh yeah, it's very fine and dandy for the British and the French and the Italians and the Spaniards to say, oh, it's not our war, and now understand read between the lines, okay? Here's the hidden message here. When they're saying it's not our war and it was unnecessary and unwise, what they're trying to say is you began the war without our permission too soon. You should have waited for us to be ready, because we're still in the process of preparing ourselves, and you did not allow us to finish the prep work, and you began the attack on Iran before we were actually ready. And now we've got stuck And that is why we refuse to be a part of this nonsense, because you didn't give us enough time to prepare for it. Understand? That's the real message here. This was always in the works. This has been the British plan right from 1979. Everybody knows that. So the British now suddenly saying, oh, we, and then the French. And I told you, these are allies. The British, the French, the Italians. Yeah. Spanish, 50-50 here, but okay. The British, the French, the Italians, and even the Germans. These four countries. They will jump at any attack on any of these countries where there are resources for them to steal, because this was their plan all along since World War II. Okay? Their plan is that they have to ensure control of the world. I told you we're dealing with lunatics, we're dealing with demented, God complex ke mare hue people, and we are stuck with these people, with these demented people, because nobody has ever thought of just going and completely getting rid of them. If you want world peace, you need to get rid of certain people, okay? Those certain people are the ones that are the driving force behind the establishments of these countries. Those are the same people that are the driving force behind the creation of United Nations, which, as you can see, is now standing with its jaw dropped open, helplessly pretending as if, oh, it's a headless chicken and the sky is falling. There you are. So, and then what is Maryam Nawaz doing in the meantime? How else is she thinking of how much more creative can she get to steal money and run away? Oh, she decided on a bullshit tax. Yeah. No, literally, practically bullshit, as in cow dung. Yes. She's decided we need to have a bullshit tax. And we're going to charge every person who owns cattle 30 rupees per day per cow as bullshit tax. Yeah. This same bullshit, this same cow dung that has been used for centuries by our people to make fossil fuel or biogas in their own homes, which is free fuel that people who do not yet have gas supply reaching them or who cannot afford gas supply, people in villages have been using cow dung as a source of fuel in their homes. This is their biogas. And now Maryam Nawaz decides, oh, I want you to pay me for your bullshit. God help us, soon the day will come when they'll find a way to tax us for breathing. In fact, I am waiting for them to start making us, because they've already kind of started that, where you die and then now they will start charging you for death, So let's see how far they go on that. So what else am I supposed to talk about seriously? About the hypocrisy of the world, where America and Israel are attacking Iranians. They're attacking the civilians, mind you, and deliberately. They're attacking the infrastructure deliberately. They're attacking the UNESCO heritages deliberately. They have attacked the pharmaceutical companies, the research and development companies, the oldest medical research company in Iran. They have attacked schools. In fact, they began by attacking young little girls in their school and killing as many as 185 girls. And that is how the attack on Iran officially began. And the Americans and the Europeans have the gall to still sit down and talk about what is right and what is wrong. How about we go and throw some bombs onto your schools and kill some of your kids and call it even? Who says that you people who are still colonies of the British, yes, America is still a British colony. Israel is also a British-created mercenaries outfit that likes to call itself a country. So we'll give them that benefit and call it a colony. These two outfits of the British, who were basically created in order to create chaos and mayhem and to commit genocide all over the world so that the British and their allies can maintain control, these two, how are they any better than other people living in other countries all over the world? Food for thought, okay? Just think about that and then we'll discuss again. This is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.